After a rocky start, Google Stadia has started to fulfill its promise. When it launched in November, Google's game streaming service was a mix of impressive tech and big ideas, but haphazard execution has undermined it all. The service that launched felt like an expensive beta, and it had nearly as many half-baked features as it did missing ones. While many of the platform's game-changing features are still MIA, Stadia has slowly started adding new features and quality of life upgrades since launch. There's notifications for achievements now. Your captures are no longer locked to your phone, and there are larger changes too. Most importantly, there's now a base version that doesn't require a monthly subscription. If you have a Gmail address and fast enough internet connection, you can play Stadia. With new features and an increasingly competitive streaming landscape thanks to Microsoft xCloud and Nvidia GeForce Now, we figured it was time to give Stadia another shake. From a technical standpoint, Stadia is still plenty impressive. There's something undeniably cool about playing a game like Doom Eternal on a MacBook that can otherwise barely handle Chrome. With the right internet connection, games look phenomenal. The games we tested look about as good as they do on an Xbox One X or PS4 Pro. But if your internet is dodgy, the first thing to go is resolution, then gameplay. When testing nearby our router, games performed flawlessly. In a dozen or so hours of testing, we only experienced a handful of quality drops and brief input stutter, and each recovered in a matter of seconds. But on the other side of the house, it was a different story. Stadia was nearly unplayable. In an hour of gaming, Stadia slowed down so much or got so blurry that we spent much of that hour dying over and over again in the same room in Doom Eternal. And that wasn't even playing on Nightmare. Even so, we're still pretty impressed with Stadia's performance. Compared to Nvidia GeForce Now, Stadia was far less prone to latency or disruptive rubber banding effects. Stadia also does a great job of rendering HDR colors, such as on the moon in Destiny 2, the psychedelic corridors of Thumper, or the vibrant hellscapes of Doom Eternal. It's worth noting though that in the games that we tested, Stadia isn't actually pushing out a true 4K image. Destiny 2 renders at a native 1080p that's then upscaled to 4K, and Doom Eternal offers an 1800p that's upsampled to 2160p on 4K displays. There's no list that says which games are actually pushing a true 4K image, but even Shadow of the Tomb Raider, one of the only games running at a native 4K, can only do so at 30 FPS. To be honest, it's all a bit confusing. Google currently defaults all users to 1080p, but it's difficult to find a straight answer about which games, if any, actually have 4K support before purchasing them. Suffice it to say, if pure visual fidelity is your goal, PC is still king. Still, we were impressed with how Stadia is capable of hitting 60 FPS in games like Doom Eternal. This has a tangible effect not just on how the game looks, but on the flow of the gameplay as well. Of course, for any of this to work, you need a very stable network with at least moderately fast internet speeds. We had good luck in San Francisco playing on high-speed internet. Your luck in Montana, though, might be another story. Stadia's game library is sadly the platform's Achilles heel. After nearly half a year, the library remains woefully empty, and while there are a few newcomers, like Doom Eternal, Borderlands 3, and Wolfenstein Youngblood, and a recent Stadia Connect announced that games like Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, Madden, and FIFA would be added later this year. But for now, there's hardly any new games for you to play. If there was little reason to subscribe to Stadia Pro before, there is even less reason now that a free version exists. After nearly half a year, Stadia has chipped away at its missing features list. Its catalog is still troublingly empty though, and a handful of its most exciting features haven't been mentioned for months. But Stadia is not dead in the water, and the introduction of a free base mode is a game changer. If your internet is fast enough, it's an opportunity to buy and play a AAA game with no hardware other than an Android phone or a crappy old MacBook. For more Google Stadia, keep it right here to IGN.